back to Spirit of the Outdoors. Today we're going to take a look at the mimosa tree. I have had countless people send me a clip. Somebody must have done a video recently on and I have an old video, if you look back at medicinal plants, on mimosa. I've been using mimosa on and off for a long time, so I showed a clip on the ground. Right now we had a rainstorm a couple of days ago, and there's a lot of blooms coming off of this tree. They're all over the ground. They're laying all in the tree. I mean, they're everywhere. Beautiful flowers. I grew this tree originally in my yard right here because I love the beauty of this tree. It is, when it's bloomed out, it's just pretty to me. It has a lot of good anti-anxiety qualities. It's something that I try to use a lot. And I don't have a serious, and I don't know if you can see, these things are just falling out of the tree behind me everywhere. The ground is covered with these blossoms. That is what you want to pick up and use right now. You can use the tree bark too. But I've been using this tree for a long time for anxiety because I get stressed out. Like, I get frustrated, my temper flares, stuff like that. So I'm not going to get on an antidepressant chemical. I know some people right now that are on antidepressants and stuff to keep them calm, keep things out, and they just, I mean, they like zombies walking around. It's really not good for you. Go to something natural, and there's several plants. You've seen me do several anti-anxiety plants, so this is one of them. Now, I have not tinctured this plant before. I've recently seen where you can tincture these blossoms right here. And once you see, these are coming all apart right now. It's shedding, so you have a short window right here where you can pick these things up off the ground in an abundance. And there's a lot of medicinal. I make a tea out of these blooms, so they will calm your nerves, several different things. So what I've got is the Southeast Medicinal Plants book. I had several people message me and say, please do a video on mimosa. The medicinal uses, well, first says where and when to wildcraft in here. This is a native of Asia, so it's throughout the Southeast and the Midwest. It's a fast growing tree, blooming from June through August, and I'm just coming through and reading the highlights. The bark is best in April and May and can be harvested throughout the growing year. I'll show you a little bit about harvesting it and stripping this bark here shortly on. I've got a couple of smaller trees that I probably need to prune back because this is somewhat of an invasive plant. It'll take over places you don't want it. So I've got a couple of trees over here that are small. I'll show you a little bit about harvesting some material off of it. Medicinal uses. Mimosa is incredibly uplifting and helps calm a disturbed mind. It is beginning to get popular in Western herbalism, but our knowledge of this plant's uses come from Chinese medicine. As you might guess from its Chinese name, Huan Pi Collective Happiness Bark, it is an excellent remedy for depression, insomnia, trauma, and grief. Really, any shock to the system. Taking the flowers internally imparts the same feeling as looking at the flowers does. Joyous wonder. They're uplifting, a pleasant escape from everyday troubles, and help relieve a troubled heart. They are often discussed as an antidepressant, but they are more like the pause button on worry. Like coming home from work and having a drink, they lighten the heart and gladden the spirit for a while. The bark seems to work more deeply and subtly. It also helps uplift the spirit and treat depression, but penetrates more deeply into the body and mind, helping to move stuck trauma and emotions and shift perspectives, though not immediately uplifting as the flowers. This effect is more profound. It is useful in working with PTSD, emotional insomnia, and stuck kinds of depression like a melancholy feeling. It opens up and allows things to move with more ease because of its ability to get things moving. Both bark and flowers have a traditional use for physical trauma as well. a remedy for bruises and bangs. So it can be used for some physical bruising and stuff like that. But this is a beautiful tree. I don't know about using the foliage on it, so the blooms and the flowers. And like I said, right now you can pick these flowers up in an abundance. And what I do is I'll take my T-ball, or sometimes I'll just drop a handful in my coffee pot because they're long and they're easy to strain. And once I put it in a coffee pot, I'll put my hot water in there and let it strain down into it, and it'll turn just about yellow. You'll lose the pinkness of it. The water don't turn pink. You would think it does. And I heard somebody say that when you tincture it in alcohol, that it will turn the tincture a pink color. I'm sure it has a lot to do with how much you pack in there. And right now, if you can tell, and I don't know how much you can see but you can see the ground is just littered with them under this large tree. So the bark, I'm going to take you over here to a small sapling and show you about stripping the bark. Now, obviously, when you're going to prune and get rid of a plant, you can cut the whole limb off and strip all of it off and use that, okay? So there's really not no big danger of over harvesting it on your private property. With it being a fast growing invasive species, I know we want to be careful and mindful about harvesting stuff. So like this beautiful tree in my yard, I'm not going to harvest any of the bark off of it because I don't want to damage it. However, I can show you on places that it has healed itself where I've hung it with a lawnmower and peeled the bark off of it. Let's go over here and show you a little bit about harvesting some bark. So y'all, right here, I'm gonna take my knife and see, I've got this whole bush needs to come down because it's growing right up against my ligustrum tree. So for one thing, you could take a whole limb off, and with this, you take a knife and you take this outer bark. And that is what you'll want to use for your medicinal. So like with me, I got these cargo pants on. You can put it in a pocket, or you can, and see how it strips pretty easy. So another thing you can do is ring it, and then where you ringed it, you can just take your fingernail and peel it. See how that just peeled right off, and you get a strip of bark. That is what you want to use. Okay, so then if you've got a big grown tree, let me move you up here.
Dad.
What, bud?
These tree plants are bigger.
That's goldenrod. So right here, if you've got a tree that you don't want to take the whole limb off, you want to leave it, what you want to do is take a knife and just go down it right here. And not all in one place, because it will heal. And you've got a long strip of bark. Now, it don't take you a whole lot. You can take from different areas, but like I said, this is a fast growing tree, so it's not really a lot of danger in over harvesting it. Not in most places. Not for personal use. Now, if you start using it for selling medicine or whatever, then you could, you're gonna need several trees. But now, I've had no problem with these spreading and coming up. I'll walk you around and show you there's about 4 of them right here that's just come up wild. And like I said, this whole one has got to be cut down because it's so that's one of the ways to do this. I'm not gonna harvest it. You can use this bark to make a tincture, pack it in a jar, pour your alcohol over it. And I've heard people say, oh, with wet plant, you need to use Everclear. Well, y'all, a wet plant does not have that much water in it. If you squeezed all the water out of what you could put in a jar, you wouldn't have a shot glass full of water. So you still need to use about a 50-50 mix, water and alcohol, which is about a 50 proof, 45 or 50%, which is like 80 or 90 proof. You don't want a 200 proof alcohol. I mean, people get so confused with this. And I heard one guy saying, oh, with a wet plant, you want to use a higher proof. Well, that is not true, okay? There's not that much water in there. And you want to get the water-soluble qualities and the alcohol soluble qualities out of something when you're tincturing it. So general rule of thumb, use a 50% by volume alcohol, and cheap vodka is what most everybody use. So that, but you can make tea out of it. You can make tea out of the bark. And tea is normally what I use. So harvest a bunch of this. You can store it in a jar, store it in a covered jar. So I've showed you a little bit about this. Now eventually at some point I'm gonna cut all this down this week, but me and Brody's gonna harvest some of these blooms, and I'll do a little quick video at the end on how I make a tea out of it. It's all right, just get most of it you can.
Oh, you had to put things.
Yeah. Go show it to that guy. Back up. There you go. That's how you do it. You just can't see yourself. Ain't no fun when you can't see yourself. Almost. Well, I've got this limb. I'm gonna go ahead and harvest some of the bark off of it. You can just about, after you peeled it down, I've cut this and ringed it in several places. You can about peel the whole limb pretty easily. So just like that, you see that whole limb is stripped. Okay, see, this is the one I was harvesting off of, growing right up by my ligustrum. See, there's one growing out right here. There's another one growing out right here. And then already another little one started growing right there. So it spreads very easily. All right, y'all will have to forgive all my junk in the background. We've got our plant in here. So what I normally do is I'll just, the simplest way, get your water, however much water you want to use. We're gonna just put 8 cups for now. There's no coffee filter or nothing in the top part. Now you can put it in one of these screen balls if you want to, a T-ball. This just seems to be the simplest thing for me right here. Take this, I drop it into my coffee pot, stick it in there and turn it on. That simple. When it makes, we'll show you what it looks like. Finished making, and you can see it has turned very yellow. Very good aroma to it. So I pour it very slowly, and you see how it's very easy to keep the plant material out of there. And then you can see this tea is very yellow. So y'all, I'm out here in my pottery shop, so don't criticize me about how clean everything is. There's no such thing with this pottery dust. Very good calming tea. Very good for you. So I've had a lot of requests, like I said, to do this video, so I hope this helped you. Hope this give you some insight into the way to do things. And later on, when we get into doing some actual medicine making videos, I don't really have any alcohol on hand to make a tincture or anything right now. I mean, I could demonstrate it with water, just, you know, tell you it was alcohol. It just be kind of faking it. I really like to do that kind of stuff. I usually film things as I'm doing it, but I had a lot of requests for this video. So thank y'all for watching Spirit of the Outdoors. Remember, the best way to do things is the way you like to do it. We'll see y'all. Y'all have a good one.